Hello, and welcome to another edition of Candidly Kesha. I want to give you each a moment to share, and like. Listen, you all know that this is the worst thing for me doing these lives and these interviews. I would much rather be in the trenches at someone's neighborhood association meeting or connecting with one of my council colleagues to discuss what's coming up on the agenda, something other than coming to you and trying to run interference or respond to some of the issues that are pressing on our council. And Candidly Keisha was birthed out of a request of some supporters, specifically a good friend of mine who's no longer in Savannah, but just thought that the media was being biased and unfair and said, Keisha, you have to find a way to equalize the narrative. You have to find a way to frame your own message. And you can only do that and compete via social media. And so they acknowledged that my Facebook posts and the few Instagram posts and the very few Twitter posts that I made was not enough. And so for a long time, I was not inclined to take the individual up on that offer because you see, it's just more work. It's more work to do. And as I stated, I would much rather be connecting with people one-on-one, working in the trenches, working on policy presentation, legislation, working on programs, activities, and goals that we should have as a city. But as I kept becoming more and more closed out of those processes, it made room for me and you tonight. And so many of you have entered into this world of Candidly Keisha, and you join us and support us every single week. You help to go out and share the message to individuals who may not have social media or who may not look at my live. And so we appreciate you for that. We appreciate you standing in the gap for us. We appreciate you helping to set the record straight. But how many of you know that at the end of the day, it gets really exhausting setting the record straight when you know that you essentially just set out to do what you signed up for, and that was to serve this community as an advocate, to be accessible as an elected servant, and to inspire them as Savannians. And so we continue to go about in that vein. We're so grateful for the connections and the relationships we have established throughout all of the districts of Savannah. And I'm so encouraged. And so the latest media blitz came as a result of an assessment I made to some funding. Hello, RG. I'm going to try to interact a little more too tonight. And I don't normally do that because I can't focus and pay attention to you all too terribly much when I like to have like meaningful dialogue and conversation, you know. And so I know that a lot of people use these platforms for entertainment, but for me, I like not, you know, there's this term called networking, and that's when you connect with someone at a gathering or social or even on social media, and you try to identify ways in which you can garner something from somebody. But I like to look at networking more as net weaving. I like making meaningful connections with people, not just having a little chatter or banter back and forth just to kind of be social. I like to make deliberate connections with individuals, and I engage with people more in a way in which I want to know not necessarily what I can get from them or how they can help me, but how can I walk into this room and change somebody's life? How can I walk into this room and change somebody's thought process, or inform someone of something that they may not have known about, or engage with them in a way whereby I learn more about them or they learn more about me. And that's what I'm so privileged to do as I travel throughout the city of Savannah. And tonight, I'll try amidst some of our interviews to engage with you and to probably answer some of your questions too, because I know with the latest media blitz that I acknowledged earlier, a lot of you have questions, but since that media blitz, a lot of those questions have been answered. If you go to my Facebook page, and you will see two live interviews, and I deliberately interviewed with those individuals while I was live on my phone because historically, every time I interview with the media, they always take a sound bite, and I call it the magic and the messiness of the media, and they turn it into something totally different. And so these individuals are so brazen, even knowing that my interviews were live, they still they still will report something very, very differently, or oftentimes polar opposite views of what I said. And so I don't understand it. I don't uh, intend to try to wrap my head around it. But what we will do is we will continue to go forth in the vein in which we always have. And that's with a high level of integrity, a high level of ethics, and those standards that are consistent with being an elected servant to the people of Savannah. You see, I'm not interested in relationships with individuals who only want to push the same narrative that this city has suffered at the hands of for decades. For decades, the winners have continually taken off, and we have been led by status quo politics. And we know that from administration to administration, certain individuals, they have the power where the media is concerned, in that the media is owned by the establishment. And I stated last week, maybe, or 2 weeks ago, that JCL, TLC, and SAV and Savannah Morning News are essentially competitors. And you would think that their news would be competitive and that they would all have different angles, but they are all on the same message. Hello, Dr. Jones. How are you? They are all on the same message. The messaging is the same. The top three stories is the same. And so, what I like to tell people is something that my brother in law said to me. He says, Keisha, you have to understand that it's television. It's exactly what the word says. Tell them a vision. And so when you think about how the media goes about with certain demographics, particularly African American men, I think the media nationwide has done African American men and boys a disservice by focusing in on those things that are only associated with crime, and the likes of those pieces that say that they are not good family men. Uh, these episodes are what causes individuals to lock their doors when you see a black man walking down the street. The level of negative reporting on African American men causes people to clutch their purse a little bit closer when you're in the company of an African American man. And it doesn't matter if they're dressed down or in a three-piece suit. It's just the conditioning. And so, what I want to talk to you tonight is about the conditioning of the media in Savannah. Somewhere, somehow, this happened to me in 2019. Someone did a poll, my opponent, not someone. And I believe it was probably Eddie DeLoach's poll, but the subject of his poll was actually me. And I wasn't running for mayor at the time. I was running for Alderwoman at large for post one. But in the questioning, some of you may have, I heard that there was a survey circulating by Wade Herring's camp. And in that survey, they basically lied and said that Michelle Monroe was endorsing him over Joyce Griggs. And Michelle Monroe dispelled that lie, that rumor on Alderwoman Alicia Nolan Blakely's show. And so going back to the survey that Eddie DeLoach did when his bid for mayor, somewhere in the question was something about, would you vote for Keisha Gibson Carter? And so the results of that poll demonstrated that individuals, yes, would vote for me. And then the numbers started to show that I actually was going to be a strong contender, if not win the race. Yes. And so after that poll, uh, my opponent's camp started to work overtime and double time to discredit me, to sully my reputation. They threw everything at me that didn't belong to me. And the media followed suit in helping to stir and spread the pot, if you will, particularly associated with my former employer, spewing things over and over again, some which was not true, where the media was, the reports was concerned. Nonetheless, we kept at it. Hello, Ivy, how are you? We kept at it. We kept at it, and we were consistent with recognizing what my goal was. I was consistent with recognizing where my heart was. And my goal was to serve Savannah, and my heart was with Savannah. And all of the work I had done previously, I was so excited to finally be able to walk into that gold dome, to walk into those chambers and sit at that desk where I had been clamoring and clawing for decades, trying to get assistance for the most vulnerable among us, from seniors who were nutrition insecure to youth who were vulnerable and members of gangs, from victims of rape and child molestation to victims of domestic violence, community organization and mobilization work, and ultimately my work, my decade-long work at the Interfaith Hospitality Network, now known as Family Promise, working with homeless families with children through our faith community. And I want to say that that work, with the aid of hundreds of intrepid volunteers from an ecumenical mix of our faith community, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Baptist, Catholic, you name it, AME, CME, we were very successful at galvanizing the faith community to engage in mission work right from their places of worship. We encourage them to expand their worship experience beyond their sanctuary walls. Yes, that's what I did. And you can have that little nugget and use that in your talks if you want. We encourage the faith community to work out their faith. Hello, Miss Linda. We encourage the community to work out their faith through hands-on mission work right from the comforts of their edifice, right? So a lot of times churches talk about foreign mission, and we were very keen on helping people recognize the importance of reaching out and providing support to local missions. And so for almost 2 decades, I'm sorry, almost a decade, we did that work and was very successful. Stellar record of performance, served hundreds of families, and still to this day, I have relationships, I have connections with the ladies, the men, and the children who see me and remember me, and tell me how much that program meant to them and how. Hello, Miss Rose Wiley. Yes, I will be your next mayor. Yes, Keisha Gibson Carter will be the 68th mayor of the city of Savannah. And so, see, a part of my service is also educating you. We need to know how many mayors this city has been served by, right? Because that tells a story, that paints a picture. In the history of Savannah, you've had 68 mayors. What does that mean, right? We're going to talk about that in some subsequent shows. But so here we are, going forth on city council as an advocate, one of the biggest and most vocal advocates for nonprofit services. I'm so privileged to have been the councilwoman who acknowledged that the city of Savannah does not do enough by way of investment in our local charities, in that our local nonprofit organizations undergird the worst experiences that our citizens of Savannah have to offer. In addition to working to increase the funding levels for these nonprofit organizations, I even made a recommendation, recognizing how difficult the job of executive director is. I made a recommendation that we provide support to those organizations we can identify as essential servants. Hello, Maureen. Yes, I first met you at my work at Interfaith Hospitality Network, and we are still good friends to this day. Fond memories. I almost remember what you were wearing when you walked up to the parking lot with those bags of donations you had. Yes, ma'am, I remember that. So we see, I lost my thought. That's why I can't do this. So what we want to do is continue to recognize that the work that I've done on council has been consistent with recognizing these nonprofit organizations, some of them as essential servants. That means that by virtue of what they do, the city of Savannah could not function harmoniously without their services. Thereby, they become essential, much like the police department and the fire department. Rape services, child molestation, support for homeless families with children who are in crises, they should be deemed an essential service. You know what your Alderwoman at Large for Post 1 did? Hi, Ms. Hart. Good evening. Thank you for attending the Savannah Baptist Ministers Union. It was a pleasure and it was a blessing. Yes, sir. It was trial under fire, but we represented well, and we will be back. We will be back. But what we did was, in recognizing those nonprofit organizations as essential servants, we said you should not have to apply for funding via a competitive grant process. So now the funds will flow to these organizations almost automatically. That's the level of service. Now, it is my job not only to serve those who serve others, but it is also to serve those in need. In addition, I am the Alderwoman at Large for Post 1. That means that I'm supposed to be a good, thank you so much, Daniela. Thank you. We appreciate you. That means we are supposed to be a keeper of the watch. And so, in as much as I wanted to create a pathway of relative ease for nonprofit organizations to receive funding, it's also my intent to make sure that those nonprofit organizations are passing on that spirit of service to the individuals they come in contact with who have a need. And what does that mean? That means that these nonprofit organizations should, with relative ease, create pathways that our citizens who are in need could access. We want to forego cumbersome processes. We want to forego convoluted application requirements. We want to forego those moments where people call and receive services and are told that they cannot receive that support because there are no more funds. The federal government, via the CARES Act and via ARPA, they have released and infused communities millions of dollars. And our locality has passed on those millions of dollars to local nonprofit organizations. There is an expectation that when people call, you answer the phone. There is an expectation that when people have a need, that need is met. The bailout is too big for Savannians to be told no. The bailout is too big for Savannians to be told no. In addition, we also recognize that the restrictions are minimal where these dollars are concerned. Initially, the CARES Act was a little more restrictive in that whatever your crises or your deficiency was, it had to have been caused by COVID. But where ARPA is concerned, that is not the case. I shared with you last week that Chatham County is the recipient of nearly $55+ million. The city of Savannah, almost 60 million or more. The Board of Education, 95 million. Over the next 2 to 4 years, Nearly $300 million will be infused into the coffers of the county, the school board, and the city of Savannah. There should not be a need that anyone has in this community that cannot be solved or halfway solved. And so when I am the recipient of calls and emails, and I think I'm going to tell you out of order, producer, but if you can bring up some of those emails. And these are just a few that have come in uh, post the whole media blitz. When I'm consistently being contacted by people who have a need, and I make a referral or a recommendation to these nonprofits, and I'm told that they cannot receive the services or they were not able to get a phone answer, we have a problem. And when I've made that problem known to leadership and it falls on deaf ears, I use that platform at City Council to communicate with my constituents to let them know and to serve notice to those who are in charge. And so, as opposed to taking my constructive critique uh, as an indictment or disparaging, again, we have to consider the sources for one. And for two, we have to have acknowledgement of what the motivation is. What would have been more helpful in this situation than to create a media blitz by filing an ethics complaint? The ethics complaint is not going to do anything. It's not going to go anywhere. Nothing. The only thing the ethics complaint does is just those words. It's sensational, it's alarmist, and it causes excitement. I don't know what the media cycle for their sweeps or rating season, but I'm willing to bet you that it must be now because surely, uh, creating this level of hype about something that is meaningless and that is not going to go anywhere is incredible to me. And so, again, post that media blitz, I'm not sure how these people, how Van Johnson and Katrina Bostic thought that this was going to play out. But here's how it played out. These are a few of the messages I received after people saw those media reports. Good evening, Ms. Gibson. I do apologize for reaching out to you at this hour. However, I was sent something of the organization Family Promise filing a complaint against you for spreading misinformation and defamation. I wanted to let you know I stand by the claims you have made about them because I have experienced their negligence firsthand and have all the documentation between my caseworker and I can provide it. I was processed and approved for a total assistance. However, you can go to the next one. And here's another one. I can't comment on your page. However, you're telling the truth about Family Promise. They do not help people in Savannah with homeless. I personally once applied for them for assistance, and the response was, "We're out of funds." When I applied, I was one of the first people in line that day. They don't help no one unless the person running the place is her friend or family. It's been about 3 years later, but I'm glad you're advocating for me and all the other thousands of people. I think there's another one. Thank you so much for fighting for Savannah, because Van is fighting for white privileged people. I have reached out to Van Johnson multiple times about what actions are going to be put in place for displaced families. I currently have been homeless with 3 small children for over the last 7 months. I have wiped all my savings, me and my wife. My wife had a miscarriage in the hotel room, twins at that. My children are of the ages 3, 1, 5, and 2 months old baby as well. It makes no sense that I have to pay $500 weekly just to stay at a hotel. And because you have one eviction on your record, no one will rent or will lie and say they will not rent from you. I'm a father. I have worked in the community for the Board of Education, for the radio station, and yet in our Savannah, we can't even get the appropriate help we need. Family Promise is not for the people. United Way don't even help families in hotels, but that's where all the families is. I had to stay at a Motel 6 and get treated as if I was scum. I have called WSAV, did a story called Van, text him, saw him, nothing was done. I have tried. And this is, I think this individual actually sent pictures of inside his room, and you can see the little kids there, and you can see how they essentially set up. He's just saying he wants the mayor to know that this issue, he should wake up, go to sleep on, and even in his sleep, think about this. And so it is something that I actually think about. I get incensed about it. And let's just be clear. Let's be real. We know that um, services that are provided can't be given to every single call that is made. But when I tell you the volume of calls I was receiving, and then to have the validation of these come after the media blitz, like I told Sean Evans at WSAB, what's more disparaging? What would be more uh, critical to the organization? For me to acknowledge the situation on council from a place of constructive critique, or for this director to file an ethics complaint and cause scrutiny to the organization? uh, the core of the existence of the mission of Family Promise, which is to utilize the faith community to provide direct services to homeless families and children in crises. I believe they are capable of that work. I believe that they do a fairly decent job. But what I'm saying is, with as much money as we have pumped into this organization and resources since I have been on council, we have to have more accountability. That's my job. And I'm kind of good at doing my job. And I don't intend to allow a person who has a special and unique relationship with the mayor, particularly where his campaign is concerned, to stop me from that. But what I do want to serve notice to the mayor and all other directors of organizations who have been positioned to receive an infusement of dollars from the city of Savannah. We know that politicians use that as a way to backdoor their way into padding the pockets of individuals, organizations, and businesses. And then they get the payout later during the campaign season by way of their hands on tangible service or support financially to their campaign. I've called out organizations, corporations in the city of Savannah. I've highlighted and identified them. Yes, I was a part of the organization. I ran it. I built a building with the support of a lot of great volunteers. Uh, and that just goes to show you that I did that with the business community. I have a very good track record of working with the business community. We've raised $1.5 million dollars in less than 18 months to build that facility out on Highway 17 that she turns the key and go into every single day. Yes, we want the organization to thrive. We want it to survive. But going back to what I was saying, even if it were the situation where there is favoritism and bias showed to organizations where Van Johnson's friends and buddies are directors or workers, if it were demonstrated that they were doing the work, I wouldn't say a word. And I actually sign off for 2 or 3 times more money. And so if Family Promise or any other organization says to me, well, we need more money so that we can increase our depth, so we can increase our reach, so that we can hire more operators to answer the phone so that the phone doesn't go unanswered, so that we can increase our capacity. to serve a population that we ordinarily were not able to serve. With the millions of dollars we have invested in these organizations, there's no reason why we could not have thought outside of the box and come up with some creative ways to provide these services in a different way, break away from the traditional methods. We appreciate the extra support for transitional housing, but how can we increase it more? Our biggest problem is emergency shelter, particularly for women, single women. Homelessness among elderly women is growing faster than the average demographic, which was children. And so we want to continue to recognize that we will be steadfast. We will keep Savannah's promise. And my promise, Savannah's promise, is to go forth without fear, without favor, and without affection, given regard to who people are. And as citizens of Savannah, you should be more concerned about your public safety, whether or not your city services are working or not working, your infrastructure. What are your roads like? What are your sidewalks like? Our public health issue, when we have a community that's being plagued by gun violence, particularly when they fall into the hands of children, we now are approaching a situation where we have a public health issue. And we should not allow the popularity in politics to get in the way of what our expectations are when it comes to harmony in our community. We should not relegate our safety and the sanctity in our communities. We should not relegate it to relationship, friendship, and kinship. We shouldn't give regard to proximity of the individual. Some people like to be stroked and entertained. I'm not an entertainer. I don't stroke people. I don't gaslight people. And I'm not a manipulative person. But unfortunately, that's what we have been plagued by. And the manipulation has trickled over into our media affiliates. Those messages that I just read off to you from individuals who sent those messages the night that they saw the news report, this last news report, particularly that of WTOC with Sean Evans, who's not motivated to tell the truth. He's just motivated to get the story out the best way he can. Um, the media affiliates had those emails previous to those stories running, and Sean Evans got it right after his story ran. But each of the media affiliates, in addition to the story, it's like once you hear the story once, it's like that should be it and over. But when they want to hit something home and they want to hit it hard, they play it over and over and over again. Because remember, it's television. It's to tell you a vision. And they can't tell you a vision unless you see my face, you see my name, or you see Alderwoman, and it become clickbait. And so we're going to talk about clickbait in the next image. But listen, not one of those news affiliates have presented to you what I presented to you tonight. Like, don't you think it would have been beneficial to have some balance to the story? To say, well, here was Alderwoman Carter's motivation because she received emails like the ones that came in. No, they never give the other perspective where I'm concerned. It's always this one-sided, she's just a crazy, angry woman who just pisses people off all over the place with her truth. Some people just don't like the truth. And so the clickbait. I was minding my own business today, and I guess I'm in that whole fishing loop that they have. And this popped up on my phone. It's an image of an ad from WSAB. And I'm looking like, what the what? And it's like, and it's like such a, I was like speechless. Like, what is this? Trending. And this is the same anchor woman who opens the story with gaslighting you and telling you that my job on council is jeopardized. No, it's not. My job on council doesn't get jeopardized until the voters go to the ballot box. My job on council is not jeopardized by bogus, trumped up ethics complaints. My job on council is not jeopardized by bogus removal from council chair that they all voted me in, and it means absolutely nothing. So why would you report that? Like, I get that you're a talking head and you have to read the news, but at some point, when you're reviewing, if you review, just come on. And this is a person, let's go back, who has personally told me, and a lot of people know that Tina Tanya Shaw was once a personal friend. Just like Meg Heap, just like Larry Chisholm, you don't cross me, you cross my people and you cross my work. And as quiet as it's kept, I severed ties with all three of those relationships. Because what I don't do shucking and jiving when it comes to the People's Watch who I sign up for. So no, I can't go and have wine dinner, wine, cheese, breakfast, lunch, talk about hair, nails, and kids and go on vacation together. And your work that affects my work, that affects my people, is jacked up. So yeah, Meg Keith got cut off, Larry Chisholm got cut off, and Tina Tanya Shaw got cut off. And as a result, for whatever reason, they find themselves connected with these people who want to make my life difficult. And you ever heard that saying, the the enemy of my friend is my friend, or something like that? And I guess that's how this all plays out. But I don't see any of those individuals as enemies. I just don't see them. They just like don't matter. Because my value and my altitude is way too high to continue to string people along who I know are just leeches. Yes, in all of those relationships, I was the better person. I was the better friend. And so, what we're not going to do is air dirty laundry. And yes, I can put some stuff out there. But what I won't do is use the expectation for me to take the higher road and to be the bigger person and to take these hits in the face of public opinion. Yeah, I need y'all to like, and share this because we're going to say some things right now. We will not continue to be the entertainment. Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah. So I don't know. Tina hated Van, and I don't know how they're friends now, but go figure. I listen. You can't make these Savannah. Let me tell you something. There are some people out there right now to this day. I want to thank the media affiliates, by the way, because all you've done is just bolstered my popularity. I can't get past the produce section because of the women who stopped me and applaud my efforts and thank me because of the experiences that are similar that they've had at work or the experiences that they've had in relationships. And somehow, I don't know how, it's not my intention to inspire or to motivate people through my challenging these systems, but somehow they find inspiration in my advocacy. And they remind me that while the judgment, the ridicule, and the strong, unfair, and biased critiques, while they come, they remind me of the people who need me. They remind me how much my voice matters to those who do not have a voice in the workplace. They remind me of the fact that my advocacy matters to that person who can't stand up, and speak out. The blows and the hits that I'm taking, and to stand up and get back up again, It gives people joy and inspiration. And I'm telling you, if I can shake this off, I'm on the wall, mama, and I ain't coming down. I'm on the wall, baby. I ain't coming down. If I can shake it off, so can you. And so someone needs to hear this tonight. You're going through difficult, challenging times, and the blows and the hits are coming. You've lost friendship, relationships, family members have turned their backs on you. You have also been judged unfairly. People have misunderstood you. You've lost employment, you've lost money, homes, and cars. But by God, if God purposed for you to wake up in the morning and put breath in your body and activity in your limbs, don't you dare quit. Don't you dare stop. And you can cry, you can shed a tear, but don't do it too long. Get up, dust yourself off, and you go back out there and win. Because that's exactly what I intend to do. And if I can do it and I don't even feel it, Mother Jones, it's like I'm having a Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego moment. I'm in the fiery furnace and I'm cold, not burnt, not scathed. Before we go, producer, I want you to know that these people have been working so fast, overtime and double time. Put up that WSAB ad. You working so fast and you trying to get the news out so quickly. You're wrong. Savannah Alderwoman faces new ethics. Come what? Come lengths? Where's your P? Put it back up there. Put it back up there. You don't even spell your words right. This is legitimate television, people. Like, okay, take it down. What are we doing here? What are we doing? You people should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself. This isn't about me. This is about he who sent me. And if you are big enough to box with my God, God help you. The laws of reciprocity are real. And so I want to say to you all, I've talked to you way more than I expected to, which is why I didn't have a guest tonight. He is with me, Mother. He is with me. And I hope Dan Johnson doesn't text you after he saw you comment on my page, which is so petty. And another thing, there's something far more sensational and salacious that actually happened before this woman filed an ethics complaint involving Van Johnson. But who do they pick on? I want Julius Carter. I'm sorry, Julius Carter is my brother-in-law. I want Julius Hall to come on now, and we're going to talk about his assessment of this media bias. And he and I, we go back and forth with this, and we agree to disagree on some things. But I want to say to you, Mr. Hall, that because of where we are and the fact that the stakes are so high right now, not just here in Savannah, but in our nation, because I get chills when I say this. Savannah's promise is going to change the world. Savannah's promise is going to change the world. And I'm so encouraged that I can just play a small role. I can just play a small role in the world's promise as Savannah's promise. Mr. Hall, you created ATR and the platforms and particularly focused on politics because you saw a change, you saw a promise that Savannah needed. And what was your motivation and what is your thoughts in terms of the biasness of the media?
Oh, well, I saw a void, Alderwoman. I saw a void that we weren't getting the information from the mainstream media that everybody else was getting. We were getting a one sided assessment, a one-sided report every time from the mainstream media. And the mainstream media, they obviously working against the underserved people of this community. The mainstream media doesn't fairly to the African American community. They don't. We never get anything fair. All you see for us is bloodshed, and they don't report that properly. They don't hold anybody accountable. All they do is report it. So they're not doing it. They're not. If they were running against Van, then they would be blaming everything on him. But
But
that
you know
tells you
what?
the same thing.
But what is the irony? And this is what I've been saying. And um, my white friends can't say this, but they're glad I do say it. We talk a lot about um, what the media does to black people, but look at what this is a black man who has been masterful at using the media to come after a black woman.
Yeah.
If you see, there's a picture of me and our district attorney, Shalana Cook Jones. They have back-to-back stories with both of us in our work moments, but they have these very negative and threatening headlines. And this is essentially at the hands, these stories are being led by a black man. You know, as quiet as it's kept, Van throws the stone and hides his hand. And, I said a while ago that I wasn't going to talk about him anymore, but I want people to know the gaslighting that ensues at City Hall. I want people to know uh, what politics really look like and how um, manipulative, narcissistic, and just flat evil this man is when it comes to how we are treated as elected servants at City Hall, how his role as a leader in the community has adversely affected taxpayers, property owners, uh, the failed opportunity to increase wages, particularly among our police officers. Let's not talk about the poor morale in our police department right now. It is more important for us to relegate our public safety and harmony in our police department uh, to the chief's future career than it is to actually solve the problems in that department. The housing crises that his failed leadership has contributed to, and the debacle and the desecration of the weeping time. Just a few. Crime on our watch is higher on the watch of a super African American majority. We have had more African American boys die on our watch. We can't blame the white man for that. And so it's high time for us to move to a place where we help these voters understand that no longer is it just good enough to be black and be in office. You got to
Uh,
hold me accountable, and he has to be held accountable. And people should be in position to not be fans of Van and be citizens who will hold him accountable.
and it's funny that you say that. Um, we have to hold the mainstream media accountable. The mainstream
Yes.
media does not respect the African American community, period, because they give us whatever they want, and they know that we're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to protest. We're not going to boycott. The people that advertise with them, we're not going. They even moved out of town so they wouldn't have to deal with us. You can't even call there and get nothing no more. So they don't respect us, and what we have to do is support our own. We have to support our own media, and we're trying to build something here so we can report it. The only thing that we aren't doing, we got everything here. The only thing we aren't doing is the news, and I got that lined up to be coming 3 days out the week after a while also. And so hopefully in the next few months, we're being looked at by some very big people. So hopefully we'll have some good news for us. The bias is so obvious. It's right in our face and we don't see it. You have an allegation against the mayor. That's really a big allegation. I haven't touched it because I haven't had a chance to really investigate it because I don't have the staff to investigate it. But they do. The mainstream media does. If had that been you saying you were doing something, they would have had people watching your house every day. They'd have had people digging up all the people that were in that email. But they rather focus on you and some bogus ethics complaint that is nothing. And it's just crazy. We have to support our own. We have to do. They say social media isn't the news. We ain't gonna be on social media long. We here right now because that's where we're starting at. And social media is the news. I'm here to tell you, social media is the news, and we're gonna be somewhere else after a while, giving the news everywhere that we can give it because we have to be able to give it fairly and unbiased to all the people. Anybody can watch us, but we're going to report to our community um, with a sense of fairness.
Right. And and as I said to Sean as well as Ed Moody, who I'm just so disappointed in, I said to them, I don't want you to take my side. I don't need fans. I don't if I'm wrong, please, report on it. But when you come at me with this with a level of intentionality that is just incredible in comparison to, there's never another other side when they are reporting something as it relates to me. Okay, Dr. Teray says the media is supposed to be the fourth state. The fourth state power refers to the press and news media having the ability to explicitly advocate and frame political and social issues. And that's all I ask. I basically said to Sean Evans, you have the ability to determine how safe we are as a community and how unsafe we are, how engaged and how disengaged. And how is that? That comes about when you are providing coverage of news as opposed to cover for politicians who do not act accordingly as is expected by their constituency. Mr. Hall, as you know, you were very uh, active and played a very active role in unseating almost every single politician at City Hall in 2019. And you were also successful in getting Mayor Van Johnson elected. And you will have to atone for that, sir.
You're absolutely correct about that. And I'm going to be working just as hard to get all those people who didn't do what they told the people that they would do. I'm going to be working just as hard. I don't care if it's at 12 o'clock at
Well,
night with the glowing vests on at night. We're going to be out
well,
there.
listen, here's where I am. People talk a lot about, especially when it comes to women, they talk a lot about our approach and how we are supposed to act. Ladies, it's enough that we got to do the hair, wear the makeup, and, Mr. Hall, you could wear a red t shirt today and wear another red t-shirt tomorrow or the same t-shirt tomorrow and no one will say a word.
That's right.
But if I wore this red dress tomorrow,
Yeah.
if I wore this red dress tomorrow, even if I were to put on jewelry with it, you would hear about it. There is enough pressure. There is enough pressure on us as women already. The voice in the body of women is under threat. I am not allowing anyone to tell me what and how to say it. This is my voice and my body. And if I have done the work to get here, and if I have done the work working with citizens of this community in need for over 25 years, and I come to this table and I can't give Savannah her promise, you're going to hear about it. And so, enough with the judgment and enough with the ridicule for having an expectation that we're supposed to be quiet or be just so. We are not in Sunday school. We are
But
at war.
if you look, Alderwoman, uh, it's happening all over the country.
Yes.
I just posted one from Portsmouth,
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 Virginia.
Virginia, and
Mhm.
that sister went off on the council. just like the council here in Savannah, Black Council.
I don't think anybody's. She was off the chain. She
Well,
was.
you need to see that she went off the chain.
Yeah,
She
but
really did.
you would think I do that every single week with the way they report,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. That's
But
not.
people are tired. People are
Yes,
tired of people lying. People are tired of them being in these little cliques where they're advocating for the wrong things instead of for the people. So people
yes,
are getting tired of that. We need warriors. We need fighters. We need people that are going to change the way that governance work.
yes,
And because it's the status quo right now.
yeah,
Those people out there, the establishment, they are running things. And you fight all day and you tell everybody, you make promises that you don't keep, saying that you're going to do this and you're going to do this when you get in office, and then you get in there and they pat you on the back and it changes everything. Two
yeah,
or three of those aldermen, all the people got pats on the back. Two or three of them were advocates. Dietrich and Linda were with Alicia every day, going strong when they had their show every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. But what happened when they got in office and the people pat them on the back?
Well, and I'm reminded, I have this saying, and this is a Keisha Gibson Carter quote: "A pat on the back is the perfect position for a swift kick in the behind." So be careful. Be careful of how excited you get about those pats on the back. And I definitely know that being in politics, that I just take it as it comes. I
Mhm.
wake up each day seeking to do the best. There are about 3 or 4 phone calls that I have to return tonight. One, I can't remember if the person's number and if it's still in my call log, but it's the pressure that we face as elected servants is to serve everybody all the time and to
Yeah,
be all things to all people all the time. That's what the Alderwoman does, right?
yeah.
And so we are grateful for shows like yours who help us to frame a different narrative, to tell the other side of the story. But again, I want to say it is the media has a huge responsibility in how people hold elected officials accountable. And when you create news and create sensationalism, I know clearly your algorithms show that if you put my name and my face in the airways of now not even Savannah, Georgia, it's Southeast Georgia. I mean, I have family and friends in Atlanta, calling saying, "Girl, what are you doing?" You know, and to have to explain to people who actually know me, family members and relatives, over and over again, it shows how when they tell lies, how much it affects people who know the truth. The establishment are running things right into the ground. Elected officials like Alderwoman Gibson Carter end up having to do damage control. Yes, but you know what, Adam? After tonight, no more damage control for me. No more. It's like at this point, I have signed myself up to sincerely serve this community from a place of authenticity with a high level of ethics and values and moral standards. Like I wish we had a crystal ball and could look into the lives of the people who challenge me where ethics and morality is concerned. And if you were the judge, even in like I said, there's a lot that I am where I'm imperfect, but there certainly are things as a person, as a woman, who values my body, a woman who honors other people's marriages, a person who values children. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare do some of the things that the people who are coming after me have done and are guilty of.
Mhm.
Even some of the news anchors and affiliates.
Yeah.
No, I haven't done those things.
Uh,
It's
uh,
it's
all the this is one thing I wanted to point out to people. Um, and there's a difference. And being doing this for a while now, I noticed the differences in the algorithms, and how people are watching these shows. If you watch, which I don't, the mayor's uh, shows, There's not one person on there asking for anything. So those are all his friends. They're from all over the country, and they're not asking him for anything. And the ones that do ask him for anything, back used to ask him when he first came on, he blocked all those people, or he kicked them off, or he ignores them. So, and then you look here, we have a channel. We don't have a personal Facebook channel page that we're broadcasting from. This is a Facebook channel. It's a difference than having a Facebook page. This is a channel. So if you see 30, 35 people up here watching at one time, it usually equates to about 700, 800 people watched at the end of the night. Before the week out, when I play it twice, 2 or 3 times more, it's usually a few thousand people that watched it. And what I'm doing is I'm asking those people, if you truly believe that there's a problem in this city, when it's time, which is will be real soon, you need to come and volunteer and to help us change things. We need to change things to show people all over the country that you can change it locally first. And you all need to volunteer on these campaigns. Oh, we want you to come and run for office and everything else, but you need to
Yes, you
come
should
and
run for
volunteer
office.
in the campaign first, so you can see what it takes. You can see the toll that it takes on you and your family. You need
Yes,
to come and do all those things. You need to learn how to. You just can't jump in and think that you can just be the answer to everything. You got to come in and put the work in. So I'm calling out everybody to come and volunteer when these campaigns start real soon, because she is truly trying to do something for the people. Ain't nothing you've seen her do so far. This Alderwoman right here, there's nothing that you've seen her do so far that was selfish. Nothing. She's fighting and getting ridiculed and attacked every day because she's fighting for the people. Ain't not she? There's nothing on on that agenda for her. There's nothing on that agenda for you. But you fight every day because you know why? You read. It's more than just going there and voting anymore. See, before they used to just go and vote. They get elected, the people pat them on the back, they vote. Now y'all are reading and saying, hey, this isn't good for my community.
yes,
Where's
yes.
the African American community? What are they getting out of this? So
And
you all,
even when we read, I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. Hall, because even when we read, take for example this whole situation with the international plumbing thing, where essentially it provides for an opportunity for us to have open bathrooms, non-gendered restrooms, where a man could essentially go into the restroom while a female. Initially, the way it was written, I thought it meant that you don't it was male or female, but this basically acknowledges that a male can go into a restroom when a woman
yeah,
is in the restroom, as long as there are multiple stalls and multiple sinks.
that's
And
sick.
that was and so when you talk about reading and the amount of information that we have to read, when that language is sneaky and they put it in there. Thank you, Aunt Betty. um, and they put it in there. It just goes to show you how much we have to work overtime and double time to just keep up with this stuff. And shame on the city manager. I'm so disappointed in Jay Melder for not taking the time to like really be clear about that, recognizing how some of us on council probably would have felt about it. But when it just goes to show you, when you do not have people align with the spirit of community and leadership, and we go along with the masses in the establishment, it puts the city in a dangerous place. And that's why we have had um, decades, over 30 years of African American leadership in this town. And not only haven't we done anything for African Americans, we haven't done anything for working class white citizens of Savannah, for Hispanics. We've done nothing for anyone except for those who are among the elite, the classist, and the elitist. And we basically are coming to the table acknowledging that no longer will we sit idle and just allow this to happen. And my intent is to serve out this term, to run and win, and become the 68th mayor of Savannah. and to really show Savannahans what leadership is. And what I will do is I promise that I will not be participating in an ethics panel or hearing wasting taxpayers' dollars. That last hearing cost taxpayers about $25,000. I'm not interested in wasting taxpayer dollars in that way. That was a circus, it was a zoo, it was a kangaroo court of sorts, and I'm not signing myself up for that. The mayor has a legal bill of about $60,000 just for our city attorney having to fight in court on his behalf for blocking people from Facebook. That cost the city $60,000 because he blocks people from Facebook. As elected servants, we're not supposed to block people from our elected pages. And so, what we're going to do, Mr. Hall, we're going to promise that we will work to reduce crime, poverty, and homelessness. We will promise to increase morale in our city departments, particularly our police department. We will promise to increase recreational and outreach activities for our youth. We will promise to cut wasteful spending. We will promise not to raise property taxes. And we will promise not to use the media as the bully pulpit to come after elected colleagues. Mr. Hall, if you don't have anything else, and finally, and most importantly, I promise to make sure that we are preserving neighborhoods and land like the Weeping Time that we hold so dear. Anything else, Mr. Hall?
No, just just want to remind the people that we have a very important election, runoff election with 4 or 5 candidates, 4 or 5 positions in it coming up in about 16 days, 15 days. So get ready for it and do your research. Do your research. You know.
Well, yes, and people often don't come out the second time around, but it's really, really important that you do. And I know that local officials via failed policies and other opportunities for our community doesn't inspire people to vote or come back out and engage in the political process. But just know, just like your Alderwoman Kesha Gibson Carter didn't quit, you can't quit. You can't quit. We have to keep going. We have to keep going. We have to keep going because we will win. We will win. We will win. We will win. Good night. I love you, Savannah.
Good night.
We will win. 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 We will win.
Like that.